One of these days I'm gonna figure out exactly what YouTube's. Actually, what I really should do is have some kind of like animated card or something for my intro, right? To solve this time where I do all my stupid intros, where I'm just like, please YouTube, figure out your stuff. Oh man, what a week! What a week! And it's barely started. It's only Tuesday, and it feels like a whole week has gone by in only a few short days. So let's see here. What can I fill some time with? What we let people get here. For those who are here early, greetings. Good to see you. I don't know. I don't know about head fish nerd alley cat. I don't know about that. I think there are some higher powers when it comes to fish nerdery than me. I'm just an ultra nerd. I don't think I've quite ascended to true head nerd status. Oh man. So let's see. My work is still crazy. That's usual. Oh, I talked to Gary Lang for a little bit today. I was grilling him about a few things. Let's see. Oh, brother-in-law James is out of town right now, so I've been like, I'm having to take care of his fish tank, and like the first thing when I was driving him to the airport, because he's down seeing some friends and family, and he was like, can you feed Atticus for me and the Corys that are in there? I was like, yeah, of course. He's like, and don't get mad at me because there's algae on the glass. I plan on cleaning that when I get back. He's like, it's not gonna be about like being mad at him for algae on the glass. Like, who am I want to talk in my tanks, right? Oh man, but I think I'm gonna like on the sly film his tank while he's out of town because it's gotten a lot. We got a lot of good growth going on. Like his crypts are growing in pretty well. The ones that did well, there's like one batch that didn't do well and one batch that did great. The ones that are doing great are like really growing in. And then his dwarf aquarium lily is like taken over like a third of his tank. It's kind of hilarious. He said to trim it back a couple times. He's like, I don't know, it's taking up too much stuff. Maybe I should have put it in the back. It's like, you can train it to grow shorter. And he's like, I can? I'm like, yeah. A little hard, but you can do it. He's like, all right. All right, so we got two members doing the... I had to find out how to do the member thingy, because I want to do that. The only channel I'm a member in. But, Mama Susan. Susan from SLC Aquatics. We appreciate you, too. You know that, right? I think I can speak for many Fish Fan members that we appreciate you, too. Stephen P. Aquatics. The Triple Crown Hotel is booked. Still need to get the tickets. Yeah, so that was part of what I was grilling Gary for, was like, what's going on with the tickets? I basically was telling him, like, tell me when it's going to be online so I can just put it in my calendar so I don't, like, miss something. Because I'm usually, like, running around like crazy at work, and I don't want to, like, suddenly not get a ticket. That would be terrible. So, we'll get on topic. We're going to talk about this bad boy. One sec. Make sure this is the right one. Should be this one. Yeah. All right, good. I got my graphics right. I have a couple placeholder graphic things in my stream stuff, and I forget which one I put sometimes. JRS Aquatics. Bought mine yesterday through ALA. Are other sites not up yet? No. That's problematic. ALA is already released. So I'm hoping that they don't have a limit on the number of tickets. But okay, so let me give you the details. Right, it's I have it up over here. I'm gonna pull it up just so that I can give some details. Oh, that's the wrong. I need to go back a couple pages. All right, so July 27th through the 31st of 2022 in Louisville, Kentucky, you're going to have a, like, uniting of the clans, so to speak. So it's ACA, ALA, AKA, and ANCFA North America. So the American Cichlid Association, American Library Association, American Killifish Association, and the Australia New Guinea Fishes Association of North America. So the rainbow fish nerds, the cichlid nerds, the killifish nerds, and the livebearer nerds are all doing one joint convention. Instead of having their own individual conventions like they usually do, they're all doing one big grand shindig out in Kentucky, of all places. Now, part of that is because Rusty Wessel is, like, really high up in the ACA, and his house is out that way, so they're doing tours of his place, which, if you've seen, like, the tour Corey did and stuff like that, it's just this crazy, amazing place full of all sorts of South American cichlids, and he's wild caught a lot of them. He built the building that this is in to do this, so it's all about making sure that you get natural lighting, and it has weather shifts and all this. It's insane, right? Yeah, I wouldn't be talking. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, I know the rainbow fish side of it has been having trouble, and that sucks because the credit matters for who you buy your tickets through. Well, they call it the Triple Crown because they're in Kentucky, and there's a Kentucky Derby reference that's going on, because you also can go tour for the Kentucky Derby. And ANCFA hasn't had a convention for like 20 years. So it's really the three that meet regularly. Plus, ANCFA was like, hey, guys, can we join in? And the Rainbow Fish nerds were like, don't forget us, bros. You know, it's really what it came down to. I know that, so when I talked to Gary earlier today, is basically they're trying to deal with their payment processor to get things all set up, and part of that is because people in the Rainbow Fish group who are in charge of getting all that done for them, one of the key members got COVID and basically lost a month of time working. And, you know, all these people have normal jobs, so they've been doing this on the side. So nonetheless, you know, they're a little behind. But I think they're planning to have it up the next day or so. So I would say, if you are planning on going, right, I would look into booking hotel tickets, because apparently, like, 2 queen rooms are already taken for the night of the 27th. Some of us are very lucky in that we have friends, or like Mike Stambaugh, you have family in the Louisville area, and you don't need a hotel. you have a place to stay, but flights are probably going to start booking, all those kind of things, right? So plan accordingly. It's not very expensive. It's $65 for the whole, like, I think it's an early purchase. It's $65 for the whole week, which is, you know, it's 5 days or whatever. That's a pretty good price, I would say. I would think that's pretty amazing. But, you know, I've seen way more expensive ones for, like, 2-day conventions. And there's a ton of stuff going on. There's other, like, optional things. So, like, if you're doing Rusty Wessel's house, you have to pay a certain amount extra. And there's I think it's Buffalo Trace is the bourbon distillery that they're doing a tour of. If you're inclined, you can do that. Keep in mind, these are all optional things, right? The big thing is there's going to be a bunch of talks, a bunch of fish nerds. You can buy tables as a vendor if you want to sell stuff. And even their tables weren't expensive, for like $125 or something like that. I'm just certainly not buying a table. I'm just going down to hang out. But it was one of those things where it's like, you know, that's nice. Most of the pricing is pretty decent. It's in, I can't remember the exact address. I had it at one point, but basically it's at a convention center that's in right around a bunch of hotels and stuff that's in Kentucky. So it's in Louisville. It's super easy to get to. There's lots of travel that goes to Louisville, that kind of good stuff, right? Yeah, and then there's people who probably sell from their room. So like JRS Aquatics is saying ALA has already got an advertising board. But I want to go. I want to talk my topical part, other than just like some general information and chatting with you fine folks. Is this most of our conventions are more vendor related, right? So like the aquatic experience when that was around, that was all about like just big vendors coming and a bunch of YouTubers happen to show up. Basically, is what it turned into. Aquashella is like kind of half vendors, half not, but they're more. I don't know. They feel less like the small convention. So like American Cichlid Association, they're kind of big, right? Because they had their big swaps and stuff. ALA has a kind of a smaller convention, although I think their convention like just happened in Florida, right? Wasn't that the one that Corey went to, or whatever? And a bunch of people, they were doing all sorts of events. I saw it through their information feed, but the American Killifish Association, that's kind of a niche group. If they're doing regular conventions of any form, I imagine they're pretty small. And ANCFA North America has not met for 20 years, as far as a convention is concerned, in the United States. They were trying to do stuff in Canada, but nothing in the United States. So you've got like 4 associations, maybe 3 really that are really active, and one is kind of active. It's funny because the rainbow fish side of things is way more active through like Facebook, and Band is one of the things where they use to sell fish for a select group of people. I say select in the sense that it's like they're trying to keep it contained to like really good breeders, and making sure they kind of know who you are through the Facebook group, but they're not that strict, we'll be fair. But you got a lot of fish nerds doing a combined convention. To me, as just a hobbyist who don't want to necessarily just like see a horde of vendors trying to sell me stuff, this is more appealing. Because this is a bunch of small conventions in the grand scheme of things, right? They're not as big as Aquashella. They're not as big as the Aquatic Experience used to be. Stuff like that, right? There's, what's the one that's in Germany? I can't remember. It's the one that like Corey and Corvus Osk and Joel went to. But it was huge, right? This is like massive, massive thing. This is like small groups getting together and trying to make a big event out of it. And they've planned a ton of stuff. It's a freaking week, right? A week. Interzoo. Thank you, Kelly Foreman. You're the best. Interzoo. That's the one in Germany. That thing's huge. And then there's like insanely massive ones out in like Hong Kong and all that kind of stuff, right? They're insane compared to anything in Europe or the US. But here's these four groups getting together, and you don't see like you have a bunch of talks, right, that are scheduled from all these people, and they're going more at like education, right? They're trying to get people who are really into certain fish to come together as a whole and enjoy all those fish as a big group of nerds. Right? We're nerds, plain and simple, right? Fish keeping is certainly not a glamorous hobby. And for us it is, but it's not that thing that people look at and they go like, "Oh, you're a fish keeper." It's not like people who are like, "Oh yeah, you breed German shepherds or something like that," and you're just like, "Oh yeah, purebreds, blah 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 blah. That's a thing, right?" It's like, I keep fish. A lot of people are like, "Well, like to eat." You know what I mean? You tell people you got aquariums, and very rarely, like, most people would be like, "Oh yeah, I had a goldfish as a kid, or maybe a betta." So it's like we're a nerdy hobby, and that's the best part, because this kind of hobby is like super sciencey, it's enjoyable, it's nature, it's all those wonderful things. But now you've got a bunch of groups who are really honed in on one thing, getting together and making their own bigger Triple Crown, their convention. I'm looking forward to this like you cannot believe. Like, I love Fishtoberfest, and I could gush for probably hours about how fun it was to just not have to worry about like big company vendor tables, but just like people like me or small stores that had a table. They're just hanging out, they're selling some stuff, but for the most part, it's just fun. Just talking. It's like a swap meet more than anything. This is going to be, I hope, like the biggest crazy fish nerd swap meet known to man. You know, see, JRS Aquatics is way more in tone with this. Like I'm looking at this at a high level as opposed to like all the events scheduled. I need to bring up the event schedule. So like just for rainbow fish, right? I would cover just this because that's the part clearly that I care the most about. But there's a lot. Like you have Rusty Wessel's house, that's gonna be sick. I'm definitely buying a ticket if there's some left. But like Gary Lang is speaking, Johannes Graf is speaking, Marcel W, aka Roseline 17, right? Guy who like I buy fish from. He's one of the best breeders in the United States. Fantastic dude. He's speaking. And he breeds more than rainbow fish. He's got plecos and all sorts of crazy stuff. But rainbows are a big thing for him. And Leo O'Reilly, who less known, right? But so was in the Australian Army. He's a big rainbow fish fanatic. Does all sorts of trying to remember like the big thing for him. But Leo O'Reilly's like a little less known but very interesting person. So you got a bunch of big names, right? And yeah, I think if I remember right, Leo O'Reilly's a big rads. He's really into radnocentrus, if I remember correctly. I think Kyle Aquarimetrics is correct. I'm trying not to just like read off a page like this the whole time and be totally not engaged. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the rainbow fish, right? They got 4 really strong speakers, 3 who are like amazing people. Marcel, I can't wait to meet in person. Because I have an open invitation from him whenever I come out to where he's at, which is Minnesota, that I get to tour his place. I'm going to take this graphic off my face real fast. This is how you know, like, I'm totally not prepared at all for a lot of these things. It's like, I forget about graphics I have until I look up and I'm like, oh yeah, that's still there. Why is the picture hanging crooked? It's driving me nuts. You're talking about the one behind me, the koi? So, part of that is actually a camera angle trick. Cameras, when they're focused on one thing, they distort and do weird things for the angles in the back and other items so that they look very strange. It might be ever so slightly off. No, it looks really, really flat for me, but I'm looking over my shoulder. Whatever. My mom made that for me, sir. How dare you? But so I want to get to, there's a couple cool, like, oh yeah, Marcel's in Wisconsin, but he's close to Minnesota. Minnesota and Wisconsin are like, not that far apart. It's easy drive. Easy drive. I get to see if I go to Minnesota, I can see Kangley, and then I can drive over to Madison and see Marcel. So, yeah, if you really, really want to support Angfa and you're willing to wait, buy your tickets through Angfa. Otherwise, if you want to make sure you have a ticket no matter what, ACA is selling them and ALA are selling them. I'm going to wait because, I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd. And I love my rainbows, so I'm going to try and help them. Let's see here. So, a couple of the cool things. Like, you can go to Rusty's house. There's the Buffalo Trace Distillery Tour. There's a banquet, which will be fantastic, I'm sure. The last time we did a banquet where I was hanging out in local, Gary, like, forced me to sit at his table. I say that jokingly. I was like walking through. I went to go say hi to him. He's like, "Oh, do you have a table yet?" And I'm like, "Well, I kind of." He's like, "Sit here." Just no, you don't. Sit here. I want to do that to people at this banquet. I just want to make people sit with me. I'm gonna be cool like Gary. There's a fish show, so you can bring your own fish and participate. That's gonna be interesting. I think I'll be curious to see how many people bring fish, right, and compete. If you're gonna bring a fish, I definitely like hunt me down so I can come see your fish. I'll put that out there. So I'm babbling a lot. I know I'm off kilter. Work has been crazy. My brain's just scattered to the wind. But here's my point about all this stuff. Why I'm so crazy excited, right? Unlike Aquashella, which has a big vendor, aquarium industry company thing to it, a big sponsor, and one of the biggest is going to be Fritz. I think this is going to be a lot more chill. I think this is going to be a lot more just like hobbyists. And yeah, a lot of these people who work in the aquatics industry, they're hobbyists too, don't get me wrong. But the difference is, I think this is just going to be like you and me. People who have fish tanks in their house, have a fish room, whatever it may be, who are just there to enjoy their fish, to talk, maybe get some education on a few things, go tour a few stuff. Maybe they're bringing fish to sell, so you got an opportunity to buy some cool stuff. I'm looking forward to that. Because that feeling, that less produced, like Aquashella is really produced. That is not so appealing to me. Like, I hope that quite a few of the various fish tubers show up. And what I really hope is that it's mostly the small ones. Right? Because you got to keep in mind, if you're a cichlid person, there's a bunch of big cichlid speakers. If you're a livebearer person, there's a bunch of big livebearer speakers. Rainbow fish people, obviously, you've got my personal hero, Gary Lang, his buddy Johannes Graf, and Marcel. That's just the top three for them. Killifish people, you're going to have some big hitters there too. Like, that's the best part. Whatever of those you're interested in, there's going to be great speakers. There's going to be all sorts of events. Yeah, Aquashella is super trade-centered. See, Paul, this is why I need you people. Members, viewers, I need you folks, because you're better at English than I am. You all assume I can speak this language. Oh, man. But Aquashella is trade-centered. And a lot of the big ones are, right? That's how a lot of those conventions exist. They're trade-centered. They rely a lot on the money from those big vendors coming, all that kind of stuff, right? For me, I like the small shows. I like the stuff that's a little more like down home and nerdy, because really, I go there just to socialize. Like, my biggest thing I have a buddy that lives out maybe 15 minutes outside of Louisville. And for me, I'm going there to like take a day or so to hang out with my buddy. And then other than that, my goal is to be there probably the whole week. And just chill. Chris Robertson's going to bring his camper. I'm just saying, if anybody puts together a tailgate in the parking lot, I'm in. I might even cook. Should be afraid. The only thing I'm good at cooking is when it involves fire. Then I'm good. I can cook a mean steak. Or a cheap burger. Did you know that I used to work at a little burger joint back when I was in high school and college? Little mom and pop. That's right. I was a burger flipper. Not no McDonald's either. Not to throw any shade to people who work at McDonald's in high school. I had lots of buddies that did so. But I worked at a little mom and pop. Way different. Way different. Part of my job, total side note, I know nothing to do with fish. Part of my job and why I got hired and why I'm such a loudmouth, right, is it was tradition in this place, which it still exists today, for the employees to kind of sass the regulars a little bit, but only once you really knew them. So an example, we're in Seattle, right, in Mariners country when it comes to baseball, even though our team sucks and has sucked for ages. We had a guy who's a big Yankees fan, came in all the time. So one of the common things we would do to our good friend, the Yankee fan, was to write pro Mariner messages and Yankees suck on his tray liner for his food. You know, those little wax tray liners? A little Sharpie. Put like a little Mariners logo. Yankees suck. But he had been coming in for a long time, so he got a hoot out of it, right? Technically, yes, I was flipping burgers when Griffey Jr. was around. This is true. Griffey was even still on the team for a little bit while I was doing so. But yeah, it's, you know, it's one of those things, right? It's just like, I'm mean when it comes to a grill. It's about the only thing I can cook, though, is when it involves a grill. Otherwise, I'm terrible. JRS Aquatics, thanks for coming, a member, man. Appreciate it. So, for those who are going, I highly look forward to just hanging out and talking with you. My plan is to be there as many days as possible. Now, I've got some limitations. It'll depend on a few things. Like, in theory, brother-in-law James will be here with my lady. They'll help take care of the dogs and the fish. Won't necessarily need me to be here the whole time, right? But we'll see. Things change. I'm really hoping that my work is not like a nightmare. I have already scheduled, this is how far out I've been planning. I've already scheduled a time off with my work. And my boss was like, you know, you don't need to schedule this like 9 months out. I'm like, yes, I do. Because I swear to God, if I don't get vacation time during this, I'm going to lose my mind. This is going to be in Louisville, Kentucky. So I'll bring the graphic up one more time. And then from there on out, we will dive in to questions and answers. So if you have a question for me, at Bentley Pasco, makes it super easy for me to see what you have to say. And sir, it's Paul Sotero's going to be bouncing around the rooms, too much knowledge to pass up. Yeah. It's true. It's true. So it's not in a specific hotel. It's in if I remember right, it's in a convention center. There's several hotels around. But yeah. You got lots of time to plan. That's the good news. I wish I could just drive there, but that is a little rough from the Seattle area. So yeah, I'm gonna fly in. All right. Mike, stand by. I'm sure we can find some good brisket and ribs near Louisville. Well, being close to Missouri, yeah, that's true. But also, like, just Kentucky has its own like really good food too. Don't hate on Kentucky. They got some stuff too, and it's not just fried chicken. They got more than that. Ain't just Colonel Sanders in that joint. You got a lot of good food out there. Plus, Louisville's a big hub. You know, you're talking about UPS's like global headquarters basically. It has a giant airport for shipping. You got all sorts of businesses through there, which means you got all sorts of restaurants. Good food, and it's cheap. Way cheaper than what it is to eat over where I'm at. My buddy was telling me the difference in prices, and I was just like, because it's so much cheaper to eat where he's at compared to out here. Oh man, is ale best thing to come out of Kentucky is Ale 8. I don't know about that. I can list a number of things from Kentucky that are fantastic. Most of them are bourbons. There's great people. It's great people too. I don't throw shade to a place you haven't been. So you find good people everywhere. But the Bourbon Trail, you know, it's like the best part about that area in general, the Louisville area, is very pretty. It'll be a little hot. It'll be a little hot and muggy, but because it's the last week of July. But AC's everywhere. So once you're inside, ooh, it's just nice, right? But yeah. I'm looking forward. And if you're shy, Lady Diane, don't worry about it. You know, the best part about fish nerd conventions, we're all a little shy. All a little shy. All a little. But the best part is we all love fish so much that don't matter. We can just talk. That's the best part. I can't train. I have a bottle of Wellers if you want to hang out. That's the best part, man. Kentucky, you can get Wellers all over the place. I, sir, have a bottle of Old Tub. Let's see if you know what that is. Because Old Tub is something you can only get at the distillery. Doesn't get shipped around nowhere. Not that it's like super fancy. We're not talking like Old Pappy Rasputin or anything nonsensical expensive like that, right? But still, nice stuff. Nice stuff. So yeah, guys, like usual, at Bentley Pasco, if you have questions or you just want to babble, you're going to bring fish to the Triple Crown. I want to know if you're bringing fish. All sorts of other stuff. You know, give me a little holler. Say hello. It's all right. That's what we're here for. It'll be nice to chill on this Tuesday. Work frazzled my brain, so don't go too high level in your questions. Yeah. Because I can only go so in depth. But again, as Rico stands, being a buddy, putting out the stuff, if you do need something a little more in depth than a standard answer in a stream, no, which my standard answer is like 5 to 10 minutes. So I don't know if that is not in depth enough, but regardless, my email is always coming up. And there was a question earlier from Cancer Train. I think it was from you, Cancer Train, about do we think the vendors won't show up, or rather they won't try to get their way there because of the size of the event. You know, there's going to be some amount of vendors, but I think the difference is, unlike Aquashella, where the big goal is to have that trade focus, all the really big companies and stuff showing up. You know, if you look at the sponsor list, because the sponsor list is already kind of available, which is where you're going to have that stuff. So there's like Swiss Tropicals, Zubed, Seagrass Farms. And then you have like Louisville Tropical Fish Fanciers, Maasai, Sandy's Pet Shop, right, Aqua Mojo. These aren't like, it's not like Fluval, you know, or ADA, or there's going to be some vendors, but it's not going to be like the huge, insane booths like you see at some of the other stuff, right? It's going to be a little more brought down, a little more down to earth. And you're going to have people like local fish stores and stuff that are there. You're going to have people that have big fish rooms that are like a vendor, but not as crazy, right? I think that's going to be more interesting. To me, at least. I'm sure big vendor booths are cool and all, but it's just like, I'm naming these places just because that's what's on the list. I have no clue what they're like, but it's like Sandy's Pet Shop clearly is a small local store, right? It's a local pet store. We're not talking huge companies at this point. That's kind of the nice thing. And whether they're good or bad, I can't tell you. Oh, dude, it'd be awesome if Aqua Malik showed up. I like watching his stuff every once in a while. I can't watch all of it, but like I check in every once in a while just because he's doing so much crazy stuff with Plecos. All right, let me jam some questions real fast. We got some easy ones. Bentley trying to take it easy on me. Bob Purcell, is there Aquatic Plant Society equivalent to ACA, ANGFA, etc.? So there's the American Gardeners Association, but they're more aquascaping centered and not necessarily pure plant centered. There isn't really just an Aquatic Plant Society. There probably should be, right? But the closest is the AGA, and I feel like they're kind of like a club that's designed not to bring new people in at all. And they don't really do a whole lot. Like they have a convention every other year. And even one of the board members of my club is one of the board members for the AGA. And I have no interest in joining AGA. After going to an AGA convention, I had no interest in joining AGA. Because it just felt like their goal is not to get new people and teach them. Their goal is to have like their group of friends get together and do the events they like, and that's it. Which is lame to me. And I'm a psycho for plants, so you would think it'd be right up my alley, but not so much. There are lots of cool people that are in the AGA. You've got people like Karen Randall and Crystal Castleman. Even though she's in Germany, she still does a lot of stuff with AGA. Dennis Wong. Balin Shaw. Lots of people who do cool talks and stuff all over in the club circuit, and they're really great plant people. But I don't know, there's something about just AGA that sets me off. I don't know what it is. Probably because the AGA convention, despite my club running it and doing a great job, I had lots of qualms with how they were doing things. And that was at the AGA level, not at my club level. My club was trying to push the things I was trying to push, and they were just like, nope, shut down. Like, okay. We'll see. Easy question. If using root tabs, how deep should all your gravel be? Good question. It depends really heavily on what plants you're going for. So if you have bigger swords, like an Amazon sword or something like a Madagascar lace, or some of the Aponegitans that get fairly big, I would look at like 4 to 5 inches. Because you want to have a good substrate layer so they can build a really robust root system. Otherwise, with most tabs, I would say at least 3 inches, because 2 inches or less, I found it can be really hard to get your root tab down in there and stay in there if it's a capsule type. And if it's one of the more dense types like CCAM and some of those, they'll stay down in there, but you're really not getting deep enough to where the roots can build a more robust system. Once you get over 3 inches, somewhere to 4 or 5 inches even, a lot better. You can go deeper than that if you want to. Things like your aqua soils and stuff that aren't as compacted, like say dirt and sand will be, they leave a lot of space, and you're fine having a fairly deep substrate. I think I have like 8 inches of substrate in one of my tanks, and I just nod and smile. It doesn't even matter. It builds amazing crypts because they can build these huge happy root systems, and that's where like I have a big farm, or for a while I had a giant like valley, if you will, farm of red tiger lotus. And I know there's a question about keeping certain plants short. I will get to that, I promise. When I answer these couple, then I'll get to that question. Mary Beth, why did my Bacopa start growing better when I put in the tank? When I put it in the tank with a Ragonite, hard water with love KH water, hard water with low KH water normally. So certain plants, Bacopa can be one of them. Tend to be they like certain minerals. I think, if I remember right, Bacopa is one of those ones that likes extra calcium. Maybe it's magnesium. The big thing is they need more of it to build more healthy and robust root systems, both calcium and magnesium. And Bacopa is really reliant on a stronger root system than some of the other stems. And that part of that is because of the makeup of that plant itself. It's got that much thicker, more, not like, I wouldn't say reedy, but more kind of almost tree-like structure in its stem, where it's a lot more robust and not quite as thin. That requires a little bit stronger root system. So having those extra minerals present helps feed that necessity, because magnesium and calcium are really important in root growth to build really good root systems. You could have some other stuff going on too. There's the thing with plants is like they're really adaptive, and it's potential that like that plant when you first got it had been in harder water than what you put it in, and going back to that hard water just became easier for that plant to figure it out, if you will, so to speak. So that would be my best guess. I can't give you some like down home this is exactly what's going on, because I'm not that sciencey. I'm only minorly sciencey. Okay, so let me answer that question I was in earlier about how do you train plants to stay short. We're gonna need a prop. I'm gonna use this Fritz Complete bottle I have here. I got this from Aquarium Co-op when I went to their shindig, and it was in the little freebie bag. We use this on Brother James's tank. All right, so let's say that this is our lily, right? This is one stem, and I know this is like really thick and chonky for doing this, but trust me. If when this gets past this height here, let's say that this is how tall we want it to be, and it starts growing taller and taller and taller, we trim. Now, usually I suggest you trim all the way down here toward the crown, right? Where the rosette of the plant is. Trim it as close to the substrate as you can for each stem part that goes to a leaf. Whoa. Sorry, we had a little hiccup in my my OBS there. All right. All right, now we're back. So that plant over time will realize that every time it gets higher than this, it gets broken, right? It will see it. Its interpretation is, if I get too high, something breaks, because you trim it every time it gets over that height. Eventually, it will grow more robustly down low, and only rarely will you get ones that grow tall. You will get them every once in a while, or as leaves get much older, they'll eventually start to grow in height. But what you'll find is they'll grow up, and they'll just kind of stop. And they'll get big, a little bit big and big, and as ones get shaded out underneath some of the big ones, they'll start growing up above, trying to get light. And so you can train your nymphaea by doing that. Now, you can't do the same thing with, like, Sagittaria, which is the other plant you mentioned. Any of the grass-type plants like that, once you cut them, that's going to die. And it triggers other things in that plant, usually triggers side runners, but in general, Sagittaria stays short when we have really bright light on it. It will reach for light if the light's not sufficient enough. And calling it a dwarf is a little deceptive, I would argue, because in the end, all those grass-type plants will grow as tall as they want. However, you can get them to stay shorter than something like a Vallisneria. Right? Vals will just grow and grow and grow and grow, even if they have a ton of light. Whereas Dwarf Sagittaria and some of the other, like, smaller Helanthiums and stuff will stay smaller if they have sufficient light to do so. I hope that helps kind of answer your question. So it's complex, but it's interesting. Make sure I didn't miss a question. Base case. What's your recommendation on inexpensive light for a 75-gallon, 48-inch length? Mostly Java Fern, Crypts, and some stems. Just got a new display tank in the living room. Community tank. So, even though I've railed on them, like, as a company, I like that JCMP light quite a lot. I think there are several options that are similar quality. It's just a matter of getting what you want. The JCMP is really powerful, but for a 75, for how deep it is front to back, you might need 2, or you just need to raise it up off the tank a little bit. You could also potentially look into, I think Higer has a reasonable light. You've got things like the Stingray that actually put out okay light. Especially if you're only on a low light requirement, but they're not as controllable as some of the other lights. So yeah. In general, I would look at a JCMP. I've had great success with Beam's work, but then again, they're getting old and really kind of out of touch with quality, where, like, JCMPs are a little newer. The Higers are newer. Some of the new Phoenix, like, Phoenix has, like, a more wide range than just the 24/7 now, and some of their, like, more entry-level ones are actually reasonably good from what I've heard. Depending on how long you're willing to wait, who knows? You might finally have the aquarium co-op light whenever that thing comes out, and I'll hopefully, like, 4 months after it comes out, be able to tell you whether I like it or not, but I don't know right now, right? I think they're still in their like, final development phase or whatever. I saw, there was something I saw where they were talking about, I think it might have been in the co-op forums. They're talking about, like, one of the last things they discovered on it that they needed to get fixed in the design or something like that, but it's all kind of blurring together right now. There's so many things. So many things. Rico Stan, I'm only really going so I can pinch Bentley's caboose. Oh, man, you're going to be disappointed. We've mentioned Alex's name. Why are we mentioning Alex Winchell? Did I miss something? Did that wonderful, nice gentleman show up? I doubt it. He doesn't watch my channel. Oh, man. Chris Robertson, you need to form the Underwater Chlorophyll Society. Oh, man. I don't know about that. I'll build my program when I build my program. It's driving me crazy that it's taking so much time, but it's the things we do for quality, right? Paul Soltero. I will be taking a 5-gallon pail with a lid, USB air pump, tubing, and an air stone. One never knows what's going to be available. Yeah, so I've pondered trying to take myself like supplies. And then I just told myself, most of the rainbows are going to be there. I know the people who will keep them, and I know how to get them. But yeah, something amazing will show up. Something amazing will show up. That's another one that's like cool. The Keystone Clash is another cool like smaller event. That's one I'd love to go to some year. Just like make a trek for the heck of it. Cancer trade. Bentley, have you ever kept bladderwort? Picked some up at the GCAS fish swap the other day. Yes, I have. I did not intentionally keep it. I received it on a plant that I bought at a local club event, and it took me forever to get rid of it. Because it's a very invasive plant and very tough to rid yourself of it. You basically have to almost nuke your tank in the sense of remove everything and start from scratch to get rid of the dang thing. But that being said, it's not necessarily like an algae or anything. It's not horrible, but it can get tangled up in some of the other plants and cause some weird issues when it comes to some of your finer stems and things like that, which is where I got it. It was on some Rotala willockii, and it caused a nightmare mess. A nightmare mess. Will C is mentioning, if anyone is looking for a hotel close to the convention center, Best Western Louisville East is the closest and still has rooms available for all nights. Good tip there, Will. Thank you so much. Mary Beth, thanks. I am going with the minerals. I've had this plant for almost a year. I don't think about thicker stems. I didn't think about the thicker stems. Yeah, plants, sometimes you got to think like really outside the box about certain plants to realize like why things are going well or not. But yeah. And then there's JRS Aquatics is mentioning that the Marriott, which has a convention rate, is 120 night. It's not bad for a Marriott. Not bad. Some of us are cheating though. That way I can spend more money on my flight. Because my flight will be expensive. RJ, do the cation exchange capacities of various materials in a substrate cancel themselves out, or are they additive? This is a cool question. So, I would say they're supplementive, not necessarily additive. Example. If you have a really high cation exchange in one thing, and you have okay cation exchange in the other one, they're still going to pull stuff in as long as it's available. And depending on how loaded up the most aggressive of the two is, will depend on how much more it will absorb. So, I wouldn't say that they're going to hurt each other, but more that they'll absorb at different rates, but they'll all still absorb, if that makes sense. So it's more of a, like, it's like when you use order of operations in math, right? It's not multiplicative, it's not necessarily additive. They're kind of two things happening in parallel to each other with their own equation that in the end create some form of balance. Does that make sense, RJ? I hope that makes sense. If not, I just sound like a crazy person, and we'll move on. Oh, man. Oh, chat jumped. That's how you know I'm way behind. Or maybe not. Am I actually not that far behind? Miracles can happen, people. Miracles can happen. Jeff Koski. Hey, Bentley. Hello from Wenatchee. Jeff, my mom lives out in Wenatchee. I go out there every once in a while. I was supposed to go out. She wants me to come out there for Thanksgiving, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if that's going to happen, because once people who aren't in Washington are going to be like, what is he babbling about? But just, roll with me for a sec here. There's Blewett Pass, which is the way that I come usually, so I go, because I'm in the Kent area, so I drive from Kent to Issaquah, then I take I-90 all the way through Snoqualmie to Cle Elum, then I take the route from Cle Elum through Blewett to Wenatchee, right? That's the route I take. Even though I'm in a far better car than I used to be, right? Because I used to be in a Mustang. terrible in any form of weather other than sun and light rain. Terrible car, but so much fun. So much fun. Now that I'm in an SUV that's way more better. Oh my God, did I say that? Way more better? Huh. English. I gotta laugh at myself, man. I gotta laugh at myself. Because, you know, that's how I know I'm a psycho. A vehicle far better suited for those kind of things. One of the things is just, it's tough to, because of my work, ever plan for some of those things. Because a lot of the rest of the people who work under me take time off for the big holidays. And I regularly, effectively volunteer myself to be the last person out the door. Because I want the people who work under me on my team to be able to take that time off. Now, granted, for Triple Crown, I don't give a... I'm taking time off. But I think I'm going to try, you know. Sometime soon I'll go out to Wenatchee. I got to go out there. It can be certain times of the year Wenatchee's beautiful. It's beautiful. And other times of the year it is oppressively hot or loaded with snow. And then it's not so great. Oh, man. Let's see. Oh, there was something here I wanted to read because it was interesting. Aquatic Jack. Are you going to be there all 5 days? My goal is to be there all 5 days. Or at least I will be in Louisville those 5 days. I think the first day I will most likely be spending that with my buddy who's letting me stay at his place. And we're going to run the Bourbon Trail. So we're just going to hang out. We're going to relax. We're looking at renting. They have like those. They have like basically a party bus you can go on that will take you down the Bourbon Trail. And we were looking at renting it for like just us. Because if I don't have to pay for a hotel, I've got extra money, right? So I can afford to like do something a little more fun. That was something I was actually like seriously considering, because then it's safer because of human malware, blah, 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 blah. But more importantly, it's like we just go at whatever pace we want. And that bus is just like, yeah, we just wait for you, man. Go tour the whole Bourbon Trail. Take our time, relax, chill. He's not a fish person, so, you know, I wouldn't invite other fish people because then he'd be like, what are you nerds talking about? But he's my buddy from Pinball and Arcades. And I used to work with him too, but just cool dude. Cool dude. Love the guy to death. That is my plan as of right now. Brandon, will the CEC of kitty litter from anoxic plenum cancel out the buffering of fluval stratum? About 3 times as much kitty than stratum. Okay, this is where this gets a little interesting. So, part of the thing is when you're trying to create a plenum, right? The water movement that is coming down into the plenum is very slow. Whereas the fluval is up top, it's going to be exposed to more active water movement. So you're going to have more of those nutrients present and swirling around. And I know this is like kind of the high-level non-science thought, but just roll with me for a sec here, right? You're going to have more of that moving around that stratum. So it's going to have kind of first dibs, if you will. But yeah, that kitty litter is still going to pull in a ton of stuff. I wouldn't say it's going to cancel it out, because eventually your plant roots are going to grow all the way down to that kitty litter if they have to. They'll go digging to get what they want. Now, the buffering capacity of stratum is not as insane as something like ADA. So, if you're trying to get your water soft and your water is naturally very hard, it will soften it a little bit. Not a lot of it. That makes sense? But if you're just looking to get nutrients down to the roots of your plants, you'll be fine regardless. Jeff Koski. Oh, you have a border collie? I love border collies. Take my border collie over to Fido's farm just south of the Air Force Base herding sheep. Nice, 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 nice. I would love to be able to take my corgi out to do that stuff. He wouldn't know what to do, but he would think he would. Select pet. Bentley, I'm sure if you show up Monday or Tuesday, Rusty would welcome more hands helping us set up the convention rooms. Oh, man. You want me to work? That's crazy talk. Joe Davis, enjoy the in-laws' birthday. Don't worry, we've had some interesting questions. Yeah, I've had collie mixes quite a few times in my life. Never any purebreds. The only purebred dog I've ever owned is Papalimo, and that was mostly because the lady would really, really, really wanted a corgi. I don't think she realized what she was getting into with a corgi, but we love him nonetheless. This morning, I'll tell you a story about him because we're at that time, right, where Bentley tells some random story. Lately, especially, one of his favorite things to do when I come home from work, if he hasn't seen me very much, or if I have extra time in the morning, I spend extra time with him, is he will run and jump into my chair or the couch, wherever I'm sitting, and he'll climb up me, and then, like, clean my ears. Just, like, lick like crazy around my ears. And he, you know, he's a corgi, so they make, like, these kind of funny grunts. And kind of snorts, if you will. And sometimes I call him a piggy because he kind of sounds like a pig, and then other times I make fun of him and call him Tim Allen because he just communicates via grunt. But it's one of the most adorable things. If you don't mind, like, you have to be that person who doesn't mind your dog licking your face, right? Which I've never have. My mom can't stand that stuff, but it's never bothered me. Just as long as they don't lick my mouth is really what all it comes down to for me. But yeah, he'll just come run and haul and jump up my chair, run right up my stomach and chest like it's nobody's business. Like he's some kind of like goat or something. And then just go straight at my ear. It's really adorable. It's like I can tell how happy he is because he'll spin around and he'll have his haunches like here on my chest. So, you know, I got his butt in my face, and he'll bark at me and bark at me and bark at me until I sit there and basically like massage his back haunches with a pet because he's such a demanding little butt. He's adorable. He's adorable. This little jerk, but he's silly. Very, very silly. It's my little story for the day. So eventually we'll catch that on camera, and you guys will probably just, like, find it hilarious. It's my dog treating me like a mountain. Bob Purcell. How high can reticulated SAE jump? I've seen mine jump when the water was down here. So underneath the black bar bits, right? I have seen it jump from here with no lid completely out of the tank. Without a problem. Could have cleared probably another extra 1.5 inch, 2 inch. Easy. Easy, easy. That's a full adult, though. They got a little more oomph to them. So they got a little more muscle to get that speed going. But yeah, I've watched them fly. I've watched an SIE fly. Now, that being said, it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare. But it's part of why I keep the water level a little lower, even with a lid. I've watched them fly out of the stupid feeding hole on this thing, too. It's like giving me PTSD from a fish I used to have as a kid. Who'd jump out all the time. Yes, the dog does have me trained. Dr. Black, good to see you, buddy. History will be coming up next. Hopefully, we can get a link to Mr. Man down in Australia, Dr. Black. Yeah. Found it. What is with the face you're making in your thumbnail, man? What is with that? Dr. Black will be up next. There's a link to his stream if you want to keep enjoying the fishy fun. Yeah, so what you see in the background is mostly the SAEs zipping around. Occasionally you're going to see the one little rainbow. That's the smaller fish, but there's two SAEs in there that, like, spar with each other all the dang time. They just like to fight and fight and fight. Border Collie's a blue merle. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. Blue merles are beautiful. I like regular Border Collies, too. I had a Border Collie mix who was more auburn colored. So she was like part regular collie to that, like, more normal collie fur color, the kind of auburny brown. That's her whole body, though. Beautiful dog. Would just run laps when I was a kid. And, well, as I was a teenager when we had this dog. Would run laps around our back fence. And literally just follow the edge of the fence. Her and our other collie mix would hurt each other. And there was, like, this broad band, and this is not correct, right? Because it was feet, but I'm trying to keep it on camera. Broad band where the grass used to be, there was just dirt from them running laps for hours on end every day. It's just, silly dogs. I love those. I love herding dogs because they're so smart. That's the big thing, right? All the herding dogs are so smart, but they can be really demanding too. Really demanding because they're very active, very very active puppers. Like Shantoto, this little darling here. Bonk. I take her out for a walk every morning. Every once in a while, there's a couple bunnies that live in the neighborhood. I've actually got a pair in my backyard that, like, they're wild, right? But every once in a while, there'll be one on the front yards of one of the neighbors' lawns, and that thing will go tearing off, and she tries to chase after, but she's on a leash. Now, I use a really long leash with my dogs. I have it's like 15 foot, and I tailor it in depending on how my dog's acting, right? But you know, it's some of those mornings where it's like, okay, we're gonna bring that thing down to 6 feet and keep you a lot closer. But when it's just us and we can walk around and be all chill, she gets the whole length. She relaxes, she chills, she just runs around sniffing everything. She's like I swear she'd work perfect for the security at the airport. She'd be a great drug dog. She'd be sniffing everything out. Oh man. All right, guys. I've got one last question from Aquatic Jack, and then after that, we're cutting this bad boy. I gotta go do some dinner. I gotta cook. I gotta be a good house husband type thing. Oh man, Aquatic Jack. I see the Cichlid Exchange 2020 Tropicals, Seagrist, any other fish distributors going that you know of. I'm not really sure. The thing is, like, you're going to have so many people there that are hobbyist breeders that are so much better at what they do than those big companies that basically import fish all the time, that I would argue that it's kind of just them supporting those bigger places. I'm trying really hard to get Dan's Fish to go. That'd be the only one that I would say is, like, big, but not big. Although, if you've seen his building's getting close to getting done, as far as, like, raw structure is concerned. He's been moving and shaking. I don't know if you guys are Dan's Fish people and have his newsletter or anything, but I saw some pictures in the most recent one. He's doing work. I'm looking forward to seeing that thing done. But yeah, I don't think I don't know of any of the other big guys that are going off the top of my head. Oh man, is Dan going? Yeah, we suckered him into it. I was bullying him a bunch of Fishtoberfest. Said he had to go, and if he didn't, I was gonna, like, show up and just drag him with me. All right, guys. Yeah, man, that guy, lucky guy. No, it's good. I'm glad, because I think, like, people like him getting to go out and talk to more people is just fantastic, because he's fantastic. You know, he's just a good dude. Legitimately just a good dude. It was a lot of fun just sitting and talk with him at Fishtoberfest. And you know he's a good guy, but when you get to sit and just babble with him, it really hits home. And I'm hoping he'll be at Triple Crown so that you guys can talk to him too. With that being said, I'm looking forward to Triple Crown. Thank you guys for hanging out so much tonight. Just kind of chill, relax night. I needed it. Maybe you needed it too. As always, gang, thank you so, so much for watching. And stay awesome. Seriously, though. Louisville? Eh? 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 Have a good night, y'all.